Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. This is Rangadad, not financial advice, just the way I'm looking at the market at the moment. And we have some pretty crazy times at the moment. Just a quick update for, oh no, I'll wait till he's on if he comes on. If you don't come on, Joshua, I have started doing the trading comp up slightly, but God, it's frustrating not being able to sort of be there in the main US markets. They start you off with 250K and then limit you to like fuck all position size. So I think the people that are going to win this are going to be doing, you know, big trades in the US time zones. I'll see what I can do, but they literally only let you trade these assets as well, which meh, bit of a pain in the ass. Anyway, doing okay. See how we go. It's just tricky when it's only a part-time thing. So we'll see how we go. The more important thing at the moment is what is happening in the markets. Firstly, this is an interesting graph. I forgot to show this yesterday, but this is the global liquidity thing. And you can see it actually has some Japanese assets in there. And yeah, it just tanked that whole time. I did mention it when it was sort of dropping, but didn't talk about it as it fell off the cliff. It has had a tick up slightly, and we have had a recovery slightly in the markets. The other thing, it looks at the moment like we are getting a bit of bullish divergence on the stochastic momentum, at least. The fact that this is CME too, so just I'll go to the regular markets in a second. But yeah, the fact that we're getting these divergences here, it's early in the week. Turnaround Tuesday is supposed to be a thing. I don't pay too much attention to those sort of statistics. But right now, it does look like the market wants to find a bottom. The issue we're going to run into is a lot of seeming global instability. Apparently, US troops were attacked by freaking Israel or something like that overnight. Maybe it was friendly fire, I don't know, but I'm getting that information secondhand anyway, so take that with a grain of salt. But the point, like, Bangladesh government just got dissolved. People aren't happy at the moment, and with good reason. They're struggling financially. That kind of issue in the markets makes it hard for markets to go up. But what we do tend to find still is they will go up when you least expect them to. And it is so freaking hard to look at this at the moment and think, oh, we're going to get more upside. The one thing we got going, well, not the one, but one of the things we got going for us is we do have a gap down. Problem is we had a gap up and a gap down. We do have an island reversal here at the top. island reversals can be pretty powerful. Just go and find some on NASDAQ or S&P and see what they do. They tend to lead to pretty drastic price action in the opposite direction, or like continuation in this direction. So that's a little concerning. Well, very concerning. We do have this wick to the downside still. We have kind of reclaimed this level, and where do you want to draw this? It doesn't really worry me. It's sort of, you can go anywhere around here. But we've recovered these vectors, which is good, but we've left our own vector candle wick here. The last time we saw selling volumes similar to this, it kept going down. Bit of a different posturing on the situation. And I don't necessarily look at these just as sell volume, because there's a hell of a lot of buying volume in that to prop that price back up. Whereas this one here the wick was to the upside, and it's going to want to push in that direction. In that case, it was more selling volume. We do have reasonably high volatility. We are turning to the upside at the moment on the stochastic momentum. That doesn't necessarily have to stay that way. Like if we pull back in the last couple of hours of today, then this won't look like crossing, and it will stay in the bearish control zone. So it is looking okay at the moment, but yeah, it's dicey. Like there's a lot of hope out there in Twitter land, and I'm cautiously long here, but I am hedging. Most of the time when I go long, I am hedging as well. Right now, my take profit is actually sitting at 57,300. Probably should have just had it at 5,700. But the reason why was, hang on. The reason why was the liquidation heat map. Originally, when I was looking at this yesterday, I think, it looks like it's changed a bit. Yeah, I mean, there was a fair bit of liquidation. I thought it was a little bit higher than that, but I think obviously this has just come in overnight, this big bunch of shorts overnight. Given that's so close to price action, it's already taken a fair chunk of that. Given it's so close to price action, it's probably 100x, 50x shorts. So I do still think we might reach into there. I'll probably be looking. I'm going to keep an eye on it and might take profit a little bit earlier, but I'm also running a short hedge at the moment, which I've picked up in this area here, just because it looks like it's slowing down and potentially rolling over. Similar to what it was sort of doing yesterday. But the big concern at the moment is one, we got a fair chunk of liquidity here. We do have a vector candle down in here. Actually, let me just check that. Let's go into 5 minute. So yeah, we got a big vector candle in there. Bit of a wick here as well, but it's been a pretty crazy run up. I mean, you're talking in the space of just over a day, we've gone up nearly $7,500 on Bitcoin. You know, if you start it back here, day and a half, 8,000 plus on Bitcoin. That's a big freaking run without any major pullback. Can it sustain that and keep going? Yeah, we've seen sillier things in the past with Bitcoin. Will it do it at the moment? Like, are these people that are buying in here going to take profits? I'll have to wait and see. The good thing is we have we're trying to get above the 800 EMA on the 5 minute, which I dare say, yeah, so same sort of thing. I've had this line in here for a while. Oh, that was the line we wanted to close above to maintain the what's it called? Hash ribbons, bull signal. Now, yeah, we are kind of closing above there. I'm just going to. Yeah, it does look like we've reclaimed this region. Realistically, you kind of want to see a pullback and a retest of this. You don't have to, but it would be useful, I think. Just looking back at previous sort of similar drops. If it's like this, then fantastic. Let's go. Just not 100% sure on that at the moment. And uncertainty is okay. Keeps you on your toes. Just know that we have, or if we close here today, the stochastic momentum on bybit, the index actually. Stochastic momentum on the index is to the upside. It has crossed the signal line if we close here. And yeah, we are getting pretty close to that topping out on the volatility. What you tend to see when you're topped out, if you start coming back down, you see mean reversion. So you will come back into a lot of these moving averages in here. So that's potentially a good sign, assuming that we don't keep going up and this doesn't actually tick down. Just remember this: if we do go up and go to new all-time highs, remember how quickly this happened, and because the next time that it happens, it's going to be the start of something pretty massive. Okay, this was a relatively benign drop, mainly due to that Japanese carry trade unwind, we think. $6 trillion left for markets over that period. They had about 12 trillion in there. So that's another concern, I guess. That means we could come down and see these sort of levels. So for those that are holding Bitcoin positions, even in spot where you bought in up here, I'd be considering closing them and looking for buying opportunities down below. It doesn't look like it wants to actually reach into that 57 at the moment. Sorry, I'll just bring back the heat map. The downside targets from here, like we could chop around down to 55.3, stuff like that. You got a pretty big target around 54.2. Now, sorry, I was just going to go to, let's go to 12 hour. So I'm surprised it didn't come up and try and take some of this, but just because there's nothing above that, hey, in terms of liquidations, there's bugger all. Big gap up to like 60,000 or something. So yeah, the 54, even into the 53s is a pretty decent target for it. If it does still want to take a little bit higher, it may come down into the 55,300 and then go to the upside somewhere 55.6 to 55.3, somewhere in there would be a good level for it to actually bounce and take this. Kind of have to wait and see with price action. We're pretty well going sideways at the moment, which is annoying. Yeah, it's just this. If this does keep going up and close above that 800 EMA, it looks like it's gonna. It's on volume too, so whichever way this closes is probably going to be pretty telling. Just in the very short term. Super trend is still suggesting upside, but it's getting pretty close to price at the moment. So just on the 15-minute as well. So you can see here on the 15-minute, we do have quite a lot of vectors in here. So down to that 54,389. I don't know that it stops there. Like it'll probably get a fair bit of momentum if we start to see drops into these areas again. So your 53,800 is probably going to be more the level that it would like to sweep, or probably even into 53,600. But conservative targets as well are useful in this sort of environment. Like we are talking pretty decent volume across this whole day. Nothing like that volume. 85,000 on the daily versus even the day before it was 15,000. And typically sort of, what's that? 14,000, 15,000 is sort of the moving average there. So we are on decent volume today. So 22,000 is definitely good volume. That would normally be a vector candle, as you can see. But it's probably not going to be, just because it's got a fair bit of other volume in there in the previous week. So, it's a reasonably strong turnaround. We came off a really good base, played out like we were talking yesterday with that W pattern. But it hasn't been super strong. And I guess when you're moving something $8,000 in a day, which, what was that in terms of percent? 16% up in less than 2 days, about a day and a half after a massive crash. That's a fair bit of effort for the market to actually do that. And with that much effort, you get tired. It's just like anyone playing sports. You put in maximum effort and then you get tired. You have to have a break. So I am expecting a pullback today. I think if you were to in a spot position here and were to sell out, you're probably going to get another chance in the next couple of days to buy in a bit lower. But don't be trying to pick tops and bottoms here. Just be conservative, especially if you're trading. Because yeah, it won't necessarily stop at the exact levels that you think it should. As you can see, it's a bit of an arm wrestle at the moment. One thing I like to look at is this version of the MACD that I've got. I think that's a 50 and a 200. Where is it? 13 and a 200, sorry. That actually gives me a pretty good guide of what the trend's doing. Yeah, just because it doesn't switch very often. When it does, it normally stays switched for a while. And it is pretty overextended at the moment to the upside. So yeah, look, I probably need to close that long that I had open. Doesn't look like it wants to close above that. We've still got a little bit of time left on this 15-minute candle, which pay a little bit more attention to. We'll just wait and see if it gets above there, and then I'll close out the long portion of that and just run the short side. So yeah, let's have a look at the general market. Oh, interestingly too, where is it? While everything else has been tanking, Lockheed Martin has been going up. Defense contractor. Geez, that was a good take profit signal there on the smart money indicator. I would be expecting this to pull back, just mean reversion type pullback. That's actually a pretty good short trade if you've got the ability to do that. But just see what Boeing, spelled that wrong, but it figured it out. Yeah, Boeing's down, mainly because it's domestic. Fuck, I can't think of any of the other war-related ones. It doesn't matter. Anyway, so something to be mindful of. We haven't reclaimed back within that channel yet, but we are still trading above the 200 EMA. That is important. Closes below there on the daily tend to lead to a lot lower. And I don't know why that would happen at the moment, unless World War III broke out, in which case World War III breaks out, you tend to get downside, and then it's normally a buy the invasion scenario. That's typically the way that would play out. It certainly played out that way with Russia and Ukraine. We are back into the critical area on SPX. this is still looking reasonably bullish. Do we still get a bit of chop sideways before the market actually decides, yeah, we go up? Possibly. The Japanese carry trade may not be over. They may just be waiting for it to move up and get a better price to sell out on. Don't know. It's hard to predict that. But what we do know is the equal weight has gone up as well. Again, not a great close here. If that's where it's closed. That's not exactly a bullish looking candle there. So that's something to keep in mind. Bit of a bounce on the equal weight Qs as well. So yeah, it's looking okay. You have another day of selling from the guys in the Japanese carry trade, Japanese yen carry trade. Then that could come down to these levels. But there's still sort of enough support levels below us, reasonably close by, that I'm not expecting anything major. The one that could be the issue is the Nasdaq, just because it has broken below this channel. And look, the Nasdaq's been on a pretty massive run. I'm just not hearing anything that would suggest at the moment we're going down. Everyone starts talking about wars and riots and things like that, but they tend to settle down for a little bit the first time. And then when stuff kicks off in earnest, that's when you really got to worry. Dow Jones versus gold has bounced back up, that's actually a fairly positive sign there. VIX is coming back down. As we said yesterday, the VIX was just, the spike on that was kind of suggesting that we were done with the drop for the time being. Can we go back up? Yeah, potentially, but I think someone said the other day this spike on VIX up to 65 is like the first time it's one of like 3 or 4 times that's ever gotten that high. GFC is sort of one of them, and it only just got a bit higher than that. There's not many other instances in the history of the VIX where we've gotten that high. In fact, it's literally the 3rd time. So a little bit of a flash crash will always be known as the yen carry trade flash crash, I would say. And the skew's still increasing. So this is, again, a pretty positive sign for us. On the back of that, I don't think it's time to panic. I think corrections, like pullbacks, will be met with buying demand still. Volatility of the VIX has gone nuts, but it's coming down as well. The DAX looks like it wants to find some support around here, which could just be kind of a retest of a 200 moving average. This is EMA, but stock traders tend to use simple moving average. So yeah, retest of the 200. So it's probably going lower. It might find some support in here. The 800 EMA is a fair way below us. What do we got on the weekly? 50 moving average on the weekly is not a bad spot for a support. It's picked up these vector candles here. Yeah, the DAX may actually find some support here. Probably a little choppy for the rest of the week, but if it closes anywhere above that 50 EMA, that wouldn't be a bad thing. But for the time being, yeah, it's testing the 200 from the bottom. Generally, you want to see that breaking above reasonably soon. But, on the shorter time frames, like intraday and stuff, you're probably going to get some tests back down into here, maybe a little bit lower. And then by the end of the week, if it closes above the 200 EMA or the 50 on the weekly, then that could be suggesting a recovery in the German market as well. Something to watch out for. We want to see general recovery around the globe. Chinese market does not look strong. That is not super surprising. The general economy there isn't great, and we've broken below the 786, so not looking super strong there. It's going to need to find some support around the 16,168, which might be a good buying opportunity actually for that as well. But I actually expect if the economy completely tanks, China might actually drop to, beyond these lows over the next couple of years, which would be nuts. Like, it hasn't seen those levels since the GFC, which, yeah, holy crap. If we get down to those sort of levels again, it will be a pretty nasty market, I would suspect. Chinese 50 is still coming down. It's the futures. So the UK FTSE's bounced as well. That's actually a nicer bounce. Hasn't left much of a wick there, although it's didn't really take much of this vector candle here. So it may get a little bit further downside. Stochastic momentum is pretty strong down as well, and BBWP is still up. So that is something to be a little bit concerned about on that market. Won't necessarily flow into other markets the same way. TLT's had a pullback, which is interesting. High yield junk has jumped. So again, the bonds market it looks like it's kind of okay with where things went to. Or it's okay with a recovery bounce anyway. A bit of indecision there though. That's definitely an indecision candle, so needs to make its mind up tonight. 2-year, 10-year, again, slight uninversion, but didn't stay there for very long. But we'll see what happens when it comes back in. Copper is probably getting close to a buy here. If you think the economy is going to run up for a bit still, copper's probably a buy. If you think it's all going to shit and copper hasn't been telling you that already, then I don't see it going much lower than sort of 3.6, 3.7, at least on this short run. But yeah, I reckon personally copper's probably a buy, and I may even actually be swapping out some of my gold for that. Looks like a decent double top on gold now. Not huge volumes in gold, which is a little surprising. So there's no real flight to safety yet. And I think, silver's looking more like a buy at the moment, though. And I would expect if silver's a buy, I would still think gold's probably a buy as well. Might wait and see if it just closes below that 50 and then take some profits, because I've been in gold since sort of down around here. But yeah, silver I might even take a loss. I can't remember where I got that. Anyway, I might hold silver for a little bit. That's a decent sort of pullback, a decent level here to actually probably convert from gold into silver and probably gold into copper, to be honest. Oil is playing with the bottom of this range here. If it does come below and into this area, it is a lower high, lower low. So, and this here isn't typical of what would happen going into a war or anything like that. If people actually thought the war was going to break out, typically oil goes pretty good to the upside. Now, it is playing around with the bearish control zone. It is below it and heading down at the moment. Volatility is going up. So I do think oil comes down a little bit more, and it'll probably find a base around the time that that there is some sort of bigger unrest starting. So yeah, oil down in the short term potentially. S&P 500 and Nasdaq up in the short term potentially, and then we'll wait and see what happens. But this is probably a pretty good level. That's a pretty decent bounce on the percentage of stocks above their 50-day moving average. So looking like a bit of a turnaround, but it has, it has broken below this trend line. Not that these trend lines are a major thing on this indicator. So I think this needs to trend back up, and it's got a bit of headroom now as well, which is good. So we could see a general market recovery, and this will come up. It's kind of what you're looking for, but it's definitely going to be climbing the wall of worry, as they say. A lot of these, like Mag 7, stochastic momentum's breaking out of the bearish control zone. Volatility is still high on it, but that's a good thing. It would suggest potential decent run up. And everyone is bearish at the moment in the general news and stuff like that, it would seem. So, yeah, look, choppy for the rest of the week, potentially. There is a lot of potential for negative gamma on the options market as well. So if people are having to sell to cover options, then that could bring us back down as well. But I don't think, I think at the moment, again, unless there's a black swan, some big news event, some big world war breaks out or whatever, at the moment, pullback should be met with buying demand. So just that's my general read on the market at the moment. Aussie had a quiet day, a bit of an indecision day, but generally positive. Closed above the 200 EMA. That's good. Actually, that's not an EMA now, is it? That's SMA. We'll go back to EMA. I'll just have a quick look at. So that's interesting volume there. Stopping volume candle on the total crypto market cap is a good thing. One thing of interest, though, is I would normally think that is a pretty good channel line. We're barely above that, if we are above that. Like, we're a bee's dick above that at the moment. Closes below that on the daily. You're potentially looking at the total market cap to come back down into the 1.6 trillion mark. I tell you what, that would be a pretty good buying opportunity. I would expect at least short-term bounce. But at the moment, that's not a strong signal. We need to be looking at, you want this to be pushing up to the 2.13 mark pretty soon, this week preferably. If we close again below that, it's more of a test and rejection of that level, in which case the 1.6 is the target, which I think would align pretty well with sort of this target here. So you're 42. But the 45 is a level that's kind of interest as well. Just we proofed it out yesterday on the current channel. Depending on where you take your channel from and to, but that's 44.3. There's vectors in here that it would recover if it did that. And typically what you would get on a normal stock market, if you had a channel like this, and Bitcoin hasn't really done this very much in the past, but general stocks do. If you break below, you tend to actually come back into the channel, don't necessarily get to halfway, and then you come back out of it. So that's something to be pretty mindful of, I would think. On CME, the gap fill now is actually, gap fill now is basically 62.945, which is pretty high. We haven't even got to the bottom of that yet. So CME closing above the 200 is good. But yeah, pullbacks need to be met by buying demand. We need to not see trillions of dollars flow out of the general market. But overall, good day. Shorter time frames are probably going to tell you the way, and this is looking like a pretty nasty candle, that one. At 56,745 is a pretty key level there. Up to 57. That's actually basically that. That was our mark, wasn't it? Actually, fuck, I don't know what that was. I don't know why I put that there. I think it was, yeah, it was based on this sort of level in here, which we didn't actually have we only had one closure briefly below that, and we had the wicks coming into that level. That's probably why I picked that level. So yeah, looks like it's rolling over here. Bitcoin loves to fake people out though, including me, so watch for a bit of support on the 200 there. 55, 56, would be a pretty good support level. just quickly on this one. Fair bit of liquidity to the downside on this as well. These are all the spot orders that it picked up. I don't know why it's not showing the other ones, the perp orders. Liquidity. Sorry, wrong one. Fuck off. And, the frick is large order. There we go. Sorry. I'll hide the detail. That might be nicer. I want to go over the spot. I might change that to 1 million. Might actually change this to see what that does for us. Because yeah, before this massive drop, those numbers were only showing up like these sort of levels. After that massive drop, it was kind of crazy. And even then, Jesus, still showing. Like it got to the point where it was just a solid block like this, and you couldn't really make too much sense out of it, except that both sides had a lot of orders in play. So yeah, still there's potential it could go for this still before it goes down, but there's now a hell of a lot of orders down right into even into the 30s. But you see here around that 45 700, that's a pretty big chunk of orders in there. It's just a matter of when confirming above the 200 on the 15, I think is going to be pretty critical. If we break below that, then I think we come down. It's just going to be a matter of when we actually break down further, but not looking great at the moment just because it took so much freaking effort to get up here. It's just such a massive run up. So yeah, looking on the shorter time frames for signs of a pullback. Break below 200 and confirm, I would expect it to come back a decent way. But as I said, I've got a short at the moment, which I'm probably not going to run past here. I'll be looking at it pretty closely when it gets down to around that 54.4 mark. Certainly looks like it's running out of steam at the moment. And yeah, the momentum on the MACD that I've got on the 15-minute is certainly postured to the downside. So shorts are more likely. CCI indicator is down as well. Stochastic momentum's down. Yeah, I'll definitely be running that short, I think. All right. That's all I've got for today, I think. Yeah, nothing else that I can think of that I was looking at. Oh, Dixie I didn't cover, but Dixie's looking like it's rolled over as well. Again, did have a bit of a run up. Fuck, I'm on the wrong chart for this, aren't I? Hang on. Let's go into this one. Yeah. Obviously, Dixie tanked when the Japanese yen was going up. May still have some downside left. It's one to watch. It's not. Yeah, it looks like it may still have a little bit of downside left in it, which isn't a bad thing. Mainly because cheaper dollar would still theoretically lead to higher Bitcoin, higher stocks. So at the moment, I think generally still leaning towards the upside for at least a little bit with some downside chop. So short-term timeframes, I think the best thing is with these sort of moves, you tend to get big moves. So like these run-ups and these trades in here have been pretty pretty good. Like easily sort of you get an easy 20-50% moves on 20x leverage. So good for scalping if you get your key levels. All right, I'll catch you later.